Dear listeners, we love making this podcast for you. So please, if you enjoy it, do us a solid and leave us a comment or a review and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And now enjoy Romance at a Glance, because we about to get nasty. Romance at a glance. Romance at a glance.
What you say now?
Romance at a glance.
Go ahead, girl.
Hi, Shawnee.
Hi, Bridget.
Hi, friends. Back today with another episode of Romance at a Glance, the podcast where we talk about our favorite romance novels from the bodice rippers, the historical romances, the suspense novels, and all the supernatural in between. Today we're talking about Crazy Hot, which is book one of the Steele Street series by Tara Janzen. And I must say that I had already read this series many, many years ago when it was published, and was a huge fan. So I was like, Shawnee, we gotta read this book.
Yeah, so I've never read this book until now.
Yes. And how did you find it?
Well, so I steer away from this genre. It's like not my favorite always, but I actually found this to be quite enjoyable. I thought she did a really good job of describing what was happening. So I felt very like suspenseful as I was reading it. Sometimes I get lost in them when there's too much description or there's too much. They describe too much stuff, and I start skipping pages because I'm like, okay, let's...
Yeah, you want to be with the characters. You don't necessarily need to be with, the action plot constantly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think she does a great job of, like, zipping the action along, and you feel like you're in it, and you're worried about the characters and worried about what's going to happen. And
I also didn't feel like that she created angst out of nowhere. Sometimes in romance novels, they're like, oh, I need a conflict. So they pick something that's just doesn't really feel like a conflict, and you're kind of like, why are you arguing over this, or why are you not connecting, or and this I felt like the way that it was set up with them knowing each other in the past and having that angst from the past made it plausible that they got together as quickly as they did. Plus, obviously, it's like a high intensity situation, so they're bonding faster. But I thought it was cute the way they felt about each other in the past and how that came into the future. And then I also felt like that anytime that when they did have conflict between each other, it was justified and not just, I need something so I can finish this book.
yeah. So if you haven't read the book yet, you definitely should check it out. But giving you a quick recap of the plot. So basically the plot is about I'll just read you the synopsis because I enjoy a good synopsis read because they do put in a lot of fun words. Only the most dire emergency could send paleontologist Regan McKinney racing across the West in search of a man, but her grandfather has mysteriously vanished, and Quinn Younger could be the missing link. What the bad boy turned American hero is doing in the deserted tumbleweed town of Cisco, Utah is an even bigger mystery, until danger trails Regan right to his front door and the sexy ex-Air Force pilot becomes her sole hope for survival. And then, of course, you have Quinn's perspective. Quinn figures things can't get any worse than being stuck in a tiny Cisco on an impossible special ops mission. Then the dinosaur doc's granddaughter roars into town with bad guys on her tail. Once, Quinn was on the fast track to a life of crime until Reagan's grandfather rescued him. Now Quinn owes them both to find the old guy. But throw in a deadly terrorist and some hot dinosaur bones, and a man could get himself killed. Also, hot dinosaur bones. Hilarious.
Hot dinosaur bones.
Because facing down danger with this revved up lady is one endless adrenaline rush of pleasure, especially when they're falling crazy in love and hanging on for dear life.
Oh my God, that's so suspenseful.
Which kind of actually doesn't describe the plot. So the real plot, I feel like, is basically Quinn was a bad boy and in a chop shop stealing cars and stuff when he was a teenager. And they got sentenced to juvie, but also to a summer working with this paleontologist who is Reagan's grandfather, out in the middle of nowhere digging up bones. And basically the grandfather believed that if he could help these young teenagers kind of find something else to do and give them some discipline and some like belief and hope and get them out of their normal environment, which is like on the streets where they're chopping cars, that they would eventually become productive members of society. And it turned out with this group of boys that he happened to be right. And Quinn goes on to become a Air Force pilot and like American hero and all this stuff. And the whole time he's had an enormous crush on Reagan from the time they were 16. And I thought one of my favorite parts of the book was like looking back at their different perspectives of what happened that summer.
Yeah.
Because he was like totally in love with her, but never spoke to her. And like she thought he like didn't like her at all because he literally never spoke to her. And then one time he went into her tent and saw her changing. And
he never forgot it.
And he never forgot it. And she never forgot it. To the point where she got married pretty young. And he came back on the day of her wedding. He didn't know it was the day of her wedding, but he came back in his like spiffy Air Force pilot uniform because he wanted to like, of course, thank the grandfather, but really he wanted to see her because he's like had this big crush for a few years. And it happened to be the day she was getting married to someone else. And then he ended up like stealing that guy's cars, like petty revenge and not even revenge. Like he didn't know that they didn't have a good marriage, but just revenge because he wanted her and the other guy got her. And so he stole his car instead.
That's like one of my favorite little things about the book. He's like, yeah, he had you. I didn't. So I stole his car.
Yeah. And she's just like, how does that make sense? And he's like, makes complete sense in my brain. And then she, recounts like when he looked at her, like, she's like, if he had stayed one more second, like I probably would have kissed him or something like that. And she's been, had pictures of him from his,
his hero days.
His hero days, like on her wall and stuff like that. So
wasn't it People
magazine? He was like one of the hottest people or something.
And she said he had his like hand tucked down his pants.
Yeah, down his pants. And I think to your point that like a lot of romance novels, people fall in love way too fast. And it's like one day and all of a sudden they're soulmates. And you're like, okay, unless there's a supernatural element, that's hard for me to think of.
Yeah.
But in this case, they're both probably 30 something, 32, whatever. And so it's like 15 years of like lusting after this other person and knew them as like teenagers. So at least you have a buildup of why when they finally kiss, like all this pent up lust, like the dam has burst and like it's going down.
I also feel like they're each other's unicorns, so it was just right for it.
Yeah.
Like they were sitting at climax already.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they're right on the edge. It's like, and it did not take very much to tip them right over.
It really didn't though.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that like it was super justified in the way that they met, they reconnected, and then went into the romance. I didn't feel like it was weird at all, and I was really like there for it, and I felt like there was just enough tease to action. Like a lot of times I'm like, get on with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like that. I felt like exactly when they did it was like the perfect time. She teased it, and then
drop the hammer. I do enjoy too because I actually at that point of the book, even rereading it, I mean I haven't read this book in 15 years or whenever it came out, but when they actually had sex the first time, in my mind, that was like later in the book.
Yeah.
And I loved when he just like pulled over and was like, let's talk. And I was like, it's going down tonight.
Going down tonight.
And also they were like having sex on the rumbling car. In like, I mean, they weren't like in public in the sense that there were tons of cars driving. I mean, they were like kind of on a secluded little road, but someone easily could have driven by.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, look at you two. Because everyone's talking about how she's always got her little buttoned up outfits and she's very proper. And like, he does not have to convince her at all. He's just like, hey. And she's like, let me take my shirt off. Let me take your pants off. Like, he is.
You're
like,
right.
She is like undercover. Like, she's a freak just for him. And I think that that's kind of sweet. That I feel like a lot of times it kind of feels like the guy's like, gotta convince you a little bit, or gotta convince the girl, like, it's gonna be okay, no one will come by. And she's just like, I could give 0 fucks if someone comes by. You better get up in this right now.
I think I've been trained by other romance novels that the girl's gonna put up a fight, right? Because they always do. So when I was reading this, I really thought like they were gonna start making out. It was gonna be this little thing, and then she was gonna be like, no, and then it was gonna go back.
We don't know each other.
We don't know each other.
Yeah, she was just like, Quinn.
And she was like, oh, it's game time.
Yeah, she's like, I'm already wet and ready
on your rumbly car.
Yeah, yeah. She was all for it.
I was for it.
I was for it. It was a hot sex scene.
It was.
It was hot.
It was hot. But I don't know why she uses the term prophylactic so many times.
I don't know. I do. You know what? I don't disagree that prophylactic feels like. I mean, it was 2005, so maybe it's just like back then.
Yeah, but she says like condom, and then she just keeps saying prophylactic.
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
it just sounds so clinical to me.
It does sound very clinical.
I was like,
I do like that she actually talks about it though, because in a lot of romance novels, I'm like, yo, you guys wrapping that shit up. You don't even know each other. I have never once in my life had unprotected sex with someone, even people that I was like hooking up with regularly that second. Yeah. No, or like that, like I just met them and it like things are hot and heavy. I was always like, you get a condom? Because if you don't get a condom, this shit ain't going no further. Like, I mean, like, I've had obviously unprotected sex. I have a child, but like, those were after I got test results.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Not just willy nilly.
Well, no.
So I do enjoy that she actually mentions it, because I think for me, I mean, a prophylactic is a funny word, but it didn't kill the mood for me, because I was like, oh, look at him, like being safe and not trying to knock her up on this car right now.
Well, I like that they were safe. I like that. And to be fair, in romance novels, I generally don't care if they use condoms or not, because it's a romance novel. I feel like the whole thing is fantasy. Sure. But I think they do it for responsibility factors, so people don't get conditioned that it's a romantic to not use a condom.
Yeah. It's only romantic if there are some other species that can't get your diseases or can't get you pregnant because they can smell your fertility. Then I'm like, go ham. Go ham.
Those are so convenient.
Yeah, so convenient.
But it was more like the fourth or fifth time I heard prophylactic where I was like, why does she keep saying prophylactic?
I didn't even notice.
You know, I like generally when they talk about the like putting on a condom or something like that, but in the quickest terms.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
On.
You know, but I did like she made it sexy in one where she was like, she put on the condom and it was like, and I was like, see, that was a great integration of putting on a condom instead of it just being like this thing that has to happen for a technical reason or whatever. So I did like that. And then the car scene was just, I think I read it twice.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
And I loved too that a lot of times I feel like romance novels cut right after they both have an orgasm. Yeah. Which is usually simultaneous. Let's be realistic about romance novels. Not about life, but about romance novels. But I liked that in this one, like there was like at least 4 or 5 pages after they finish having sex. Yeah. Where they're like cuddling and kissing, and he says like, oh, I don't want to get out of you yet. And
the aftercare.
Yeah. And he's like petting her and thinking about like, you know, one of my favorite lines, you know, about why he had never had sex on the world's biggest vibrator. Like, I loved that. For me, him sort of realizing that he's been in love with her his whole life, basically, and that then, you know, towards the end when he wants to marry her and he wants to like have that introduce her to his mom and all this other stuff, that felt very natural to me because they had this like very loving after.
Yeah. I thought so too. I was like, I felt like the author put in the time to make you believe this romance. Because even if they had just met and they were having this whirlwind situation, it's still, I mean, even for me, if I think of like my crush from when I was a kid, somebody that if showed up today and I would be like, yeah, you know, I still would be skeptical as to like, yeah, what kid could
your emotions.
Yeah. I don't trust my emotions.
People are shooting at us. Yeah. Adrenaline's running high. I'm having 5 orgasms a day.
I remember like having a boyfriend who wanted to get married, right? And in my mind, I was like, sure.
That's hysterical.
I was like, sure, you know.
I was like, nah, bitch. I know where you want to live, and I don't want to live there.
Well, like it was. I was ill at the time. I was going in and out of the hospital, and I knew that the person I was at that moment was not the person that I was. So he had, before, like I had my surgery, whatever, he was like, I want to get married, you're my baby, you're my queen, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I could do you, yeah, you know, whatever. But I was like, I know I'm not going to be the same person. So I told him, I was like, I have to decide this after this whole health thing is over, because I don't know. And as soon as it was over, I was like, nope. Yeah. This, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like she, in this whole process, could have very easily been like, yeah, we were really riding high
and
she
does. I mean, she does at the end. Yeah. Excuse me. After everything gets resolved, like she does pump the brakes, and I think it's a good reason to pump the brakes, which is like I'm not down for people shooting bullets at me ever.
I mean, it's solid reasoning,
and I'm not a type of person who can like live with wondering if people are shooting bullets at you, if you're okay, if you're alive, if you're on all these missions. which I think are two completely valid reasons. They're not like, I'm not sure I love your mom. It's like, I don't know if I can handle it if you're in danger and gonna die.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want any part of that. And I think that was a good reason for her to kind of pump the brakes. And I obviously love that he didn't. So he used the mom card, but then also respected her point of view wasn't going to change just because she fell in love with his family, and that he was going to have to change something if he wanted to keep her. So that I really liked.
Yeah, I did too. I think she put up enough of a fight too. She was like, yo, we almost died. So I don't know if I can do this, which I really was with her. I was like, yeah, bruh, I don't know if I can do this. People shooting at you.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm trying to live my best life here. Treat yourself Tuesdays. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to have margaritas.
Margaritas.
I'm not trying to dodge bullets.
Exactly. If I want to have babies, I'm not trying to be a single mother. That, you know what I mean? Kudos to single mothers. But yeah, I think we could all agree.
Most single mothers aren't trying to be single mothers.
Most of them. I would say a good 98%. Or like, I'd like help.
Yeah.
You know? And I really felt that was valid.
Yeah.
You know, and I did like that he used his mom. And the lady's like, look, I got ladies in my life.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And but like, I was on the just kind of on the fence about how quickly she was like, yeah, okay. But he did say like, oh, okay, I'm gonna retire and stuff. So that validated it for me. Right. And the book needed to end. Yeah, at that point.
Yeah, and one other thing I think that I really like about Tara Jansen's books in general is that because they're this like special ops group, we've been introduced to like the 5 main people of it, so you know they're each going to have their own book, which is fun. They had a great subplot with Regan's sister and Kid Chaos, which I thought was really fun. Just like how different they were, and she's an artist, and like the whole scene where she's painting him and then they bang, I was like, let's get it out. I mean,
baby.
That was super, like, it was like super hot, but also like so sweet.
Yeah.
Like they're both.
I like when he wakes her up before he leaves, because I really feel like I've been programmed by terrible authors, because like I felt like she did a really good job. She didn't make angst where it didn't need to be, which is like, they were like, kid, you got to get out of here now. You got to get to this other mission or whatever.
You don't have 1 minute to say goodbye to someone.
Yeah. You know, and I literally thought that it was going to be he ran out the door, never said goodbye, and that was going to be the angst in the next book. And I'm so glad that's not it.
It does actually come into the next book, mostly because she was asleep, so she doesn't really remember fully. And also he leaves for so long and doesn't call her or like send an email, and no one will tell her if he's they basically say like, we'll tell you if he's dead or if he's really injured, but that's it. And so she's kind of left in this limbo for a few months. So it does come into it a little bit, but I completely agree. I love that.
I thought it was so sweet.
It was so sweet, and he's like already in love with her,
and he's like, I need you to wake up. I need you to wake up. You know,
I have something to tell you. And she's just like, cuddle.
Of course, you saw that coming when he was like, I'll tell her tomorrow. I was like, oh,
kid.
You're missing your moment, bruh.
Yeah, that's the moment. Also his name, Kid. I'm like, I love that. I would have loved to have fallen in love with a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why, but I just feel like that would have been such a lovely, like...
It was interesting when she was, like, calling his name, like, when they were doing it. She's like, Kid. And I was like, I wonder what it would feel like to have somebody call you Kid, like, as you're fucking.
I think everyone in his life calls him that, so I think it's just like being called Junior or whatever. It was just his name.
Yeah, it was just interesting. But I did think it was so sweet when they like also like when he painted her face, you know, because he's like, I always do everything by the book. So, and I found it to be super sweet because like, you know, you knew it felt super girly for him to be painting her face. It was like that impression or whatever. I mean, he was like, fuck it, man. I like this girl. She want me to paint her face. I'll paint. What do you want me to paint? I'll paint it all.
But I thought the sweetest thing was that he didn't actually put any paint because he was like, she's so perfect.
Yes.
He just ran the brush over her face, and I was like, no one loves me like that.
I had to go back and read it because I was like, did he not use any?
No,
it's just, and I was like,
it off.
I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was the cutest.
Slurf.
Yeah.
Slurf.
And then he had all the paint on when everybody came, and they're like, oh, bro, what happened to your face?
And he's like, I'm ready to go to battle. I already have my camouflage on. It's from MAC Cosmetics. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our ratings. How did you feel about our heroine? What would you give her?
I liked her a lot. So out of 5, I'll give her a 3.5 to 4. I really enjoyed her. I didn't think she was. There was a couple points where I wanted her to be a little bit more or whatever, but in general, she wasn't like a weak pushover. Yeah. So I actually really I was with her. I was with her.
I'd say 4.5 for me, because she starts the book out like she's not like waiting. Everyone's like, your grandpa's probably fine. She's like, fuck all you guys. I'm gonna go find this other dude because it was written on a scrap of paper, and I'm gonna find my grandpa.
Yeah.
And especially when you later find out that he has like some sort of growing dementia happening. So she's like, has a reason to be worried.
Yeah.
And she definitely isn't, she's not a pushover. She's not a like brash in your face, aggressive character, but she's definitely like someone who kind of holds her own in the story. And I enjoy that she's also like incredibly intelligent, which they do not shy away from like sharing, how important her job is and how much she knows about all these things. And she keeps being like, let me look at the dinosaur bones. I'll figure it out for you. I did think her one stupid moment was going alone to to her museum. I was like, come on, girl. Like, obviously take a man. And it could be a woman. Could have been a woman if there was a woman available who had a gun. But like, you should be taking someone who knows how to use a weapon if there are other people with weapons trying to kill you.
Let me tell you right now, Bridget, if there's a dangerous situation, I'm not calling you.
No.
What
am I going to do?
I'm going to call.
What am I going to do? I'm not going to be helpful. I don't have any equipment.
No.
I really don't have expertise.
I really believe women and men are equal, Yeah. But I believe it in the yin and yang sense. Like, we all have our strengths.
Well,
if I have a woman friend who's a sniper,
then you call me.
But if
I was a special ops warrior,
if I have a book full of 5 dude special ops warriors,
you're not going by yourself with a teenager to this that makes no sense. Oh, he's sleeping. Wake his ass up. The fuck are you doing?
Easily fixable.
That's why you lost that entire catch of dinosaur eggs.
Yeah.
That was you.
Yeah.
That was your fault. I 100% blame you.
I agree with you.
But aside from that lapse of judgment, and she'd never been in that situation, so to be fair, maybe she just like literally thought the danger was over or something. Who knows?
I'll give it to her, because the other day I decided I was going to throw like chunks of frozen mango into my blender and cover the hole before it exploded, and that didn't work. And I have smoothie on the ceiling that I can't get off. So we all have lapses.
We all have our crosses to bear.
I knew it was dumb when I was doing it.
And then what do you think about our hero, Quinn Younger, whose last name I don't love, but
yeah. I thought he was hot. I was there for it. I was like, oh, Quinn could get it.
Yes.
I was like, the car thing. I just liked the way he put it on her, man. He had game.
He had
so much game. And even I felt like there was tiny moments where she was like on the fence, but the game was too strong.
The game was so strong.
You know what I mean? She just was like, fuck it, man. Yeah. We going all the way, Quinn.
And I love that he had such good restraint. Like the way she wrote it, where he was like, really holding himself back because he wanted her to like feel the way he's been feeling about her all these years. Yeah. And I was like, it got me in the heartstrings.
It really did.
And in the groin. So it was a twofer.
That's a great book.
It's a great book.
That's a great book, because I felt the restraint of him. I also, for me, something that's super sexy in a man is when they can be composed. I like a controlled man. And I also like a man who is planning and is thinking about all the things, right? So like knowing about aftercare, laying with her, having that moment afterwards, making sure that glow is there. Also like making sure that she comes, making sure that she's enjoyed it and she's living her best life, fucking her then going down, back and forth. I mean, you guys are like, I won't do that. I'm like, get out of here. Yeah. You don't deserve to be in my bed right now. Like, so I loved I really loved. I think they did a good job.
I also really liked the scene in the elevator where they're having sex, and he's like, we could have taken the 2-minute elevator, but I decided to take the 15-minute elevator, basically because he wanted to have sex with her on the way up. And I was like, that is my type of man right there. How can I squeeze in more quickie times? And I love that she was like stroking him, and he's like, we don't have time for this. Like, I gotta get up in there. Like,
hashtag planning.
Yeah, it was just so funny and so real that he was just like, I love what you're doing. We don't have time for that. And you need to just let me put this in you right now. And she was like, oh, yeah, I'm already ready.
Yeah.
Like, I'm down. Down to clown. And also, like, when she met all of the other people he works with, I'm sure they both were just reeking of common sex, which I also find enjoyable.
Yeah, I do.
But anyways, I gave him a 4.5 because I liked Quinn.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay. And what about, I mean, we kind of covered it, but were you in a McDreamy to McSteamy? Where were you at with him?
Ooh, I actually called him a McDresteamy.
McSteamy.
No, a McDresteamy.
A McDresteamy.
He was dreamy to me,
yeah.
and he was steamy to me. So I just squished them together.
Okay.
I was like, he was a good balance of both.
Their turn.
You know? Yeah.
I said he was a McDreamy steaming up the car windows. So we basically said the same thing. Yeah. And I did, you know what I did like about this is that I would say the sex was pretty vanilla all the way through, it was kind of kinky only in like the locational choices. Yeah. So they were having sex, you know, like on the car, out in like the wild.
I would say that's kinky.
Yeah, in the elevator where if someone looked into that window, they could have saw them.
I think what makes something...
Skeeter Bang has all the security cameras wired. Someone definitely could have seen them.
You know? And like, so for me, like, the sex can be vanilla,
right?
But when you add a psychological element, it becomes kink.
Totally.
And that, for me, every sex scene had an element of like, something could happen.
Yeah, like when he like ate her out while they were on stakeout. So good. And Hawkins was like, God damn you.
I love a multitasker.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I did feel bad for Hawkins though, because who wants to like sit there and listen to someone else getting an O face on in the other like side of the room, and you're just like, good Lord. We are supposed to be working here.
He's like, I am.
He's like, I have my sniper rifle, and I'm trying to focus on bad guys, and you're trying to pop this lady up. Like,
I'm interested to know the other stories because I don't.
Hawkins is really good. It's the next one. Superman. But they're not on audio, which for me is difficult because it's probably, you should submit your thing. It's probably just because they're older books. I mean, this was from 2005, so it's probably just that they came out before Audible. It
existed.
Yeah.
I should write them a strongly worded.
I was gonna say you should just like write her an email and be like, I want to put your book on Audible. Here's my voice sample.
Oh yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. But yeah.
But I'd give this a solid 5 eggplants.
Yeah.
I was there for it. I was there for the eggplants.
I will give it. So 5 to me has got to be like the ultimate kinky, but I would definitely give this like almost 4 eggplants.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love the psychological. Like to me, that can get you like so high.
Oh yeah.
And nothing can even happen if it's like whatever. So for me, I like the psychological. I like the places they did it, like how they did it, like how they rolled into it. Mm-hmm. So I would give this a steam factor of like 4. Yeah.
4 eggplants. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Which is weird because it's usually BDSM that gets me to a 4, but
I know.
But I'll give it to her. They got me with the kink.
I know. I just like her writing style. I think like she writes like such fun dialogue. She writes like it's snappy. Like the book never felt like, sometimes you're mentioning earlier you kind of skim through things. Like this book to me never felt like, oh, I need to like get to the point. It felt like the whole book was just moving along.
It was, and so it did have a factor of getting to the point, but not in like in that truest sense where it was like I was so excited to when they would switch to someone else's story, I would be excited to get back to the other story, and then I would be excited to get back to the other story. I was excited to get back to Kid and Nikki. Like every time they came up, I was like, oh yeah. So that was, for me, that was good, or whatever. So, and I thought their sex scene was, I thought that was so cute. I did. I thought it was so sweet. It was like her first time, and he was like, "Woo!"
Especially after having the entire like 2 chapters of him watching her paint Travis naked and like looking at all of her art.
Yeah.
So you would assume she's experienced just solely based on the fact that she's so comfortable like tying up naked men and like looking at their bodies and photographing them and painting them. So I liked that sort of like anticipation, and like I thought it was very cute that she's like taking secret pictures of him and stuff, but she's pretending to take them only of Travis. So she got like 4 cameras only on him. And I was like, that's my girl. Yeah. That's my girl, Nikki.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I haven't taken some secret pictures. You know what I'm saying?
I have not.
You were there when I did it one time. I was like, ooh, he's delicious. But I don't recommend it. It can be creepy. Be careful. People, readers.
Yeah, don't listen to Shawnee. Don't take secret photos of people. It's a terrible idea.
Photos.
It's what they call illegal.
It's a gray area.
I don't think it's gray. I think it's
if they're in public.
I still don't know if that's gray.
If Beyonce walked down the street, you could take a picture of her and it would be totally legal. Paparazzi do it all the time. It's gray if they're like naked in a locker room, in a private
I guess
space.
I was assuming that the secret photos you were taking were...
Oh, no. These are like public secret photos.
Like they're just on the street.
They're just on the street.
Okay.
They're just like, oh my God.
Okay, I changed my mind.
You're hot.
It's still weird, but I accept it.
Totally weird. Yeah. Totally weird. But legal.
All right, let's take our readers through the Skimmer's Guide to the Cookies and the Nookie.
Skimmer's Guide to the Cookies and the Nookie.
Yeah.
Bridget.
Cookie.
All right, so a Skimmer's Guide. So when they first get when they first get down, it's in chapter 12. Ooh. That's when you can expect the first get down with the get down on the rumbly car, and you will not be disappointed.
No, you will not.
They actually went at it quite a bit. Normally, I like jot down every time. I was like, you know what?
They get freaky a lot.
So I figure if you start at chapter 12, like
just keep going.
Just every few pages, every few chapters. Yeah. I think the next time is like chapter 15, but they go pretty quick. Yeah. I felt like it went pretty quick. I'm not quite sure how thick this book is. Not having a tangible book in my hand, I'm not quite sure how thick the read is, but it's not that long. It's not that long of a read.
Probably like 250 pages in real book.
Yeah.
Pages.
That's a quickie book to me.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, so chapter 12, and I think the next time was chapter 15, and then after that, just enjoy. You know?
But it's definitely worth reading the beginning, because the build up to chapter 12, where they talk about them as teenagers, and how they were like lusting after each other the whole time. She's embarrassed that she has like his picture on her wall and stuff, and like it's worth the read just to like get that squirmy feeling where you're like, oh my God, it's like that. I love it. They're gonna have sex. You know what I mean? Like that for me is
It's
the
like,
anticipation is good.
Yeah. It's kind of like yoga, I feel like.
Please enlighten me. How's it about yoga?
Well, everything comes down to me. This is the first time I ever did yoga, right? I was always against it because it's so boring. But I did yoga, and then I got to that last position, Tadasana or whatever it's called. Shavasana. And I laid down, and I went to an outer space that I never knew existed, right? They rang the bell for you to wake up, and I was like, where the hell was I? Like, it was the most amazing thing ever. And I've been chasing that high ever since. And so in yoga. So I tried to just go to the to the end position. No, the next time I went to yoga, I was like, screw all this, I'm going to the end position. But you can't get to the end position without doing the whole yoga. And I'm like, God.
I see how you tied it all together.
You see? And so this sex scene doesn't work. It's not as delicious. You can't have that without going through the yoga, you know? It's like
you gotta do the work to get to the reward.
Yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yoga. You're so funny. You're just such a good ball. Okay. So my favorite line in the book, I actually had 2. And one is sexual and then one is not sexual, because I do like the repartee. My first one is, and Jeanette, good God, she was like the world's biggest vibrator. How could he have never thought to make love on the hood of a 383 cubic inches of pure power rumbling and idle beneath him? Which I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? You've been driving these cars and stealing cars your whole life, and you never thought to have sex on top of it? I mean, I never thought to have sex on top of it, because now all the cars are like silent. their motors are really quiet, and they turn off, and like, so you don't actually have like that old school muscle car where it's like vroom, 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 like giving you that bump.
See, I
unless you're in a Fast and Furious movie, in which case you probably
Yeah.
I've done it on top of
I think about having sex on top of all sorts of things all the time. You know, like the washer. You think of everything rumbly.
Sure.
And you're like, yeah.
It's just cars don't rumble anymore.
Yeah, but so my family's always had the oldest cars ever. Like
really?
the ones made out of steel. You know what I mean? They've always been the most rumbly cars. And I've thought about it before. I've been like, I wonder. However, the cars have always been so old that they overheat. Yeah. And the hood will burn your ass.
Yeah.
So for me, when they did have sex there, in my mind, I was like, I'm just gonna believe that the hood.
It was nighttime and it was cool.
It was cool. So
it's cool out.
Yeah. So I suspended any disbelief. You know.
I also thought it might be warm, but then I was like, yeah, but it's nighttime, and it was a cool night.
And it might have felt really good on your ass.
Yeah.
The heat, you know? Yeah. So I choose not to believe it's like my family, which is like
Colorado at night. It gets chilly.
Colorado, yeah.
It gets very chilly at night, even in the summer. So.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, because they're like us. They're like a desert. So they drop quite a bit at night once they.
I didn't know.
Once the sun goes down.
Oh, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't like 30, but it was probably.
It makes perfect sense.
It was just probably like 50 or 60.
Listen, my family's like car hoarders, right? So we have all these cars that just like don't all work well at all. You know, they're all just in the driveway or whatever. And so they really do overheat, like to the point of like steaming out. And I was like, no, he would maintain his cars really well.
His car is maintained.
He'd have like, you know, beautiful muscle cars. But I
thought fresh coolant in there.
Yeah. And he should have thought about that earlier. But I'm glad his first moment was with her.
Yeah.
That's a good first to be like, remember our first time?
Remember our first time?
On the muscle car?
Jeanette. Except for Jeanette blows up, so then.
I know.
First and last, you know.
I was like, oh, Jeanette. Yeah. I like that they name, all the cars have names because I name everything in my life, even if it's a car or not a car.
Yeah.
Like my heating blanket is Ernesto, you know?
Ernesto.
And the funny thing is that other people, if I name something, other people will call it that. So like when my dude, he makes sure I have my heating pad every night, right? He's like Ernesto's already plugged in and ready to go. So he gets a kick out of it.
So great. I feel like I don't name things. That's just not my personality, but I always liked people who named things. Like one of my high school friends named her car, and I remember thinking, "What? That's so fun." I've never named my car, but I enjoy the people who do those things.
Your car needs a name because when you're trying to get it to start up, you know, because it's not, you're like, come on, Connie, I've been good to you, Connie. Come on, Connie, you gonna work for mama. You gonna, like, that's how I talk to my car.
I did, my older car did not have a name also, but I did have to sweet talk it occasionally.
You start talking sexy to your car.
You're like, okay, I know you're mad, but
I'm about to give you some sweet oil.
I just got you fresh oil, and so it feels like you should be doing better. And then I realized the car was like 25 years old, and it's just not going to do better, and I should probably just, sell it. And by sell it, I mean I donated it because that's how old it was.
Everybody's like,
I got more out of it donating it than I would have selling it.
Nice.
And I was like, I mean, not that much more, like $300 or $400 more, but
yeah,
I was like, that seems fine.
It's weird because
someone can have this gift of this car.
My car now is new, and I don't have to really sweet talk it. It's weird to not sweet talk it.
Yeah, my car's
like I feel unconnected because all my cars have been old at this point. I was like, we had a bond.
Well, this car you'll have a bond with for the next 20 years or however long you decide to keep it. So,
dear God, I hope it's not that long.
15, 10.
I bought like the cheapest bottom of the barrel car. So I'm like, when can I afford to upgrade?
Yeah.
I don't even need it to be that, I just want dual climate control.
You don't have air conditioning?
No, dual climate control.
Oh, I was like, you don't have air conditioning? I was like, that's honestly the reason why I decided to get rid of my car was because my car did not have air conditioning when I moved to Los Angeles, and I lived here for multiple years without it. And it was very sweaty, but I was like, you know what, I can bear it.
You're stugging it out, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like poor and I was working a lot, and I was like, whatever, it's fine. And then I got pregnant, and I was like, not today, Satan. I was in the valley, and it was like 100.
Oh, hell
and
no.
I like drove to the dealership, and I was like, what do you have that has air conditioning available right now? And he's like, every car we have. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's drive some.
That was literally my car. It did not have AC. And this is until like 2 or 3 years ago now that I've had this car.
Yeah.
Like, it did not have AC. I drove it down to Irvine to get my new car without AC.
Yeah.
I used to freeze a water bottle at work so that when I drove home, I could put the water bottle between my legs.
That's so smart. I never did that. And I was always just pouring sweat.
Yeah, I was just like, just bought water. And that water bottle that was totally frozen would be completely melted by the time. I was in the valley too. Yeah. But like when I got home, it was completely melted. I was like, I would just die of this heat.
Yeah, my husband was like, you have the money, just buy a new car. And I was like, they're so expensive.
This is what happens when you're like the frugal one. And
he's like, you need a car. It's a need. It's not a want. Your car is dying and you have no air conditioning and you're pregnant. And I was like, but it's so expensive.
He's like, girl, treat yourself.
Treat yourself. And I didn't treat myself. I wish in retrospect that I had spent the extra like $1,000 or $1,500 to get the like one level up of amenities.
Yeah.
Only because I was recently driving a rental car and it wasn't the exact same car I have, but it had the next package up of that same, it was a Nissan of that same brand.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a more pleasant ride.
Yeah.
And if you're going to keep your car for like 15 years, which I'm at least going to keep it for 5 to 10, but hopefully it will last for like 15.
Yeah.
That would have been nice to have for 15 years. And if you think about the cost of the extra like $1,500, it's like $100 a year. I'm like, I really was like very pregnant and very morning sick while I was trying to buy this car and it took forever. And I was like, I'm so sweaty. I just needed to give me the car. And I really didn't think through the extra like, couple grand. And I was like,
I feel like
in retrospect,
they're trying to get you because they just gave us the next car up for while our transmission was getting fixed.
Yeah.
Which was under warranty. Bam. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they did this on purpose. They want us to trade in our car to buy this car because this car is nicer. It's it's one step up, and the one step is really beautiful.
It's a step.
Yeah. And the dual climate control, like because I'm always cold and he was always hot and we're always battling. Like they know this will save our relationship.
They know.
They know.
Yeah. Anyways, what is your favorite line of this book? Circling back.
Tangents. Okay, my favorite line in this book is more like a kind of a paragraph, but it's like, okay, you mean that... So he's talking about lying or whatever, and he says, okay, you mean that part where I told you we'd run out of whipped cream? Okay, you've got me. There are 2 more cans in the fridge, but I thought we might want to save them for the morning. So technically, again, it wasn't a lie because by my figures, we are out of tonight's allotment of whipped cream.
And I love that scene.
I love that line.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I know we was playing with some whipped cream, but we needed some for breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
he's like, what if I do that move instead? And she's like, okay.
Which I feel like he wanted his cake and eat it too. He's like, I want this sexy time situation to happen. I also want a really good breakfast, which I feel like
I think the whipped cream is for morning sexy time. I don't think it's for their breakfast shot.
Oh,
that's why it's their tonight's allotment, like tonight's fucking allotment of whipped cream that we're licking off of each other. We need to have some for the morning.
Wow, that really puts it in a different light.
Yeah,
because I was like, yeah, you need whipped cream for breakfast. You can't eat it all.
That's so funny because I don't like whipped cream basically at all, and so I was like, well, obviously it's for fucking. I'm not gonna like put that on my breakfast.
And I'm like, obviously it's for waffles.
No, it's for them to have sex with.
I literally eat whipped cream out of the can. Like when I go to my sister's.
You would have been the perfect partner for Quinn. You could have licked a whole can right off his sexy body.
I would have licked everything. I'd have been like, where you want it? Where you want it? Where you want it?
It's like,
just hold still. I'm gonna do it for you. Like my sister always has whipped cream in her fridge, and the kids aren't allowed to eat it. And I always,
that's kind of cruel.
I'm gonna.
We have all this whipped cream. It's for mom. It's not for you.
So whenever I go there, I'm like spraying it in their mouths. I'm like, come on, Auntie's here. Here we go.
I was recently staying with a friend of mine, and her kids had whipped cream on their pancakes for breakfast, and which is like a normal thing. I think.
Yeah.
Most people would consider that pretty normal, but like, I don't like whipped cream, and so I would like never desecrate my delicious pancakes with whipped cream. Butter, yes. Syrup,
tons of butter.
Syrup, yes. Fresh fruit, heck yes. But like, I am not desecrating it with whipped cream. And it was so funny because they were like so into it. They're like, "Mom, can we get more whipped cream?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." Probably mostly because I was in town visiting, so it was like a special breakfast and not their daily breakfast. Or maybe it is. I mean, no judgment, do you? But like. I just remember thinking, oh, my poor child will never have this experience. Not because I'll have whipped cream and deny her, but because we'll never have whipped cream at our house.
Yeah.
Like, she'll think whipped cream only exists at, like, restaurants or something or or maybe friends' houses. I'm not sure because I cannot imagine myself ever buying a thing of whipped cream.
But you're creating.
I've never in my whole life bought one.
You're creating like a good moment for her because every time she goes to a restaurant and has whipped cream, it's going to be a special event.
Yeah, that's true.
And when she gets older and the day like she realizes she can buy whipped cream on her own and have it every day, she's going to freak out like I did with Martinelli's, where I'm like,
Martinelli's so good.
Where I'm like, I'm in my 30s and I'm like, wait, I could just buy Martinelli's all year round.
Yeah. Yeah, not just at Thanksgiving.
First of all, worst realization I ever had because I was popping bottles every night. Sugar addiction. I come home, people put wine in a wine glass. I put Martinelli's in the wine.
Dude, first of all, Martinelli's is so good.
So good.
When we were little, we were allowed to try the wine. And we would take one sip and we'd be like, this bitch-ass wine. Give me that Martinelli's. And we'd be like, there were only 4 of us. It was me, my brother, sister, and one of my cousins. And we would easily have a bottle each. At dinner, at Thanksgiving, and we'd be like hopped up. And my sister and me got into a huge argument last year about whether we had Welch's or Martinelli's. And I was like, no, it's Martinelli's. You don't have Welch's, you have Martinelli's. She's like, we had Welch's. I was like, it's Martinelli's. Who
has Welch's?
Thank you. Thank you.
No, first off, Welch's is kind of...
And if you're listening to this, it's Martinelli's.
It's Martinelli's. First of all, it's Martinelli's. Secondly, Welch's didn't have Welch's back then.
No.
So if it's what you had when you were a kid, it's not Welch's.
Yeah.
And
also, it's Martinelli's.
It's Martinelli's. And, my family is so crazy about Martinelli's that we all buy secret bottles. We all discovered that we were buying secret stashes on every holiday. So with Thanksgiving...
So we wouldn't run out.
Yeah, so everybody gets their own bottle because we used to fight so heavily about it. And there's not that much Martinelli's in a bottle. Let's just be clear. Those bottles go so quickly. So everybody got their own bottle, but then we were always not sure if that was going to be enough. So we'd always stash bottles. And my mom would find Martinelli's bottles after. We're grown-ass adults. Yeah. After, stashed in her
I mean, it's better than finding, stashed half-empty bottles of vodka or something. I mean, at least you guys don't have alcohol-related drug problems.
The crazy thing is,
just sugar and carbonation.
When I look back at, the bad things we did as a kid, I was like, we were the best kids. I remember my brother sneaking to read his, children's Bible. Yeah. Getting in trouble to...
I want to stay up an extra hour and read the Bible.
Exactly.
Get away from me, Mom.
I was like, my mom would go in there to get him in trouble. She's like, how can I get him in, how can he be in trouble for reading about Jesus?
Yeah.
Or whatever. But yeah, Martinelli's was pretty intense.
Did you know that they make Martinelli's apple juice, regular apple juice?
Those little round...
In a round apple?
Yeah.
Those are... Every time Kira sees it, she goes, juice? Apple juice? And I'm like, it is apple juice. And yes, we should buy one, even though we shouldn't because it's not worth it to buy it in an individual container. Drink at home. That doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely not.
But
and she's not going to appreciate it.
It's worth it.
She's not going to appreciate it like you would need her to for the price.
No. She just wants it to be juice. She doesn't care. The first day she has Martinelli's, she's gonna not regular apple juice, but the sparkling. She's gonna lose it.
Yeah,
she's gonna lose it.
Does she like sparkly things?
She hasn't had any yet, but I just feel like when she gets 5 or whatever age, you're
you get your first
I
one.
feel
you
like
can hold
you can have some.
Your first
have
champagne
her own
flute.
little champagne. Or I have this little copper mug. She have a tiny copper mug full of Martinelli's sparkling juice. She's gonna be like, Martinelli's. She's gonna be like, I was. I just remember loving it so much.
Yeah.
And now I feel like the closest thing I've ever gotten is Framboise. Have you ever had that beer? You don't really drink
No. Ginger beer for me is...
ginger beer is non-alcoholic. So Framboise actually has alcohol.
Oh, okay.
But it's only 4.5%. But it basically is a similar thing where it just tastes like delicious juice. And you're like, I'll drink this juice beer.
I probably would drink it. I don't like the taste of alcohol at all. So
you can't taste any.
If you can't taste it, I've been trying to find a grown-up drink that has a little alcohol so that people will chill when I go out. And they're like, you're not drinking alcohol?
I know.
And then it becomes a thing. And I'm like... See, a second ago you didn't know and it wasn't a thing and it was fine.
I'm also why are you judging my life choices?
Yeah.
People really shouldn't peer pressure other people into drinking or doing any sort of drug when they don't know what their history is, because then it leaves you out in the wind to be an asshole.
It really does. Because I never turn and go oh my God, look at you binge drinking. I've never even thought to do that.
You're not you're not gonna get cheese on your potatoes? What you some kind of cheese? What are you?
Oh, you don't like cheese?
Oh, you don't like cheese today? Too good for dairy? You too good for dairy? Probably vegan now.
People do that with when I say I'm gluten free. They're like, I don't know why they think it's appropriate to ask, like, oh, is it a choice? And I'm always like,
I think it's because, honestly, we're in LA.
Yeah,
I think if you said you were gluten-free in other parts of the country, people would assume that you have celiac or an intolerance.
Yeah.
But here, people are like, oh, is it
choice?
real? Or is it just you making a choice?
I'm like, bitch, it's not a choice. Do you think
a lot of times
give up food as a choice?
Here, it's a choice. I mean, in LA, I know a lot of people who make that as a choice.
Yeah, well, I think
Most people are
people do it also like
crazy, but
there's so many diets here. Like people are trying to lose weight in such quick ways and whatever, and it's part of that. But for me, I'm just trying to stay thick. Like
you're just trying to stay healthy. That's why I gave up gluten, was for your health.
You know? Yeah, I gave up gluten for my health, but like it's actually making me lose weight, not eating as much carbs and as much wheat and whatever. Yeah. And like, but it's actually making me lose weight. And I'm like, oh no, I really need this ass to stay.
You just gotta like, once you get used to like subbing in the things that have high calories, that aren't baked or wheat products.
I feel like I've accidentally gone keto, like in just the way my diet
is. Do a lot more like lentils and beans and stuff like that. Yeah, because those have a lot of nutrients and dense calories. Or nuts. Nuts have good fats, good calories. I love avocados.
Avocado. I have like 5 avocado trees. Brendan's like, I know. No more avocado trees.
You should bring me some when you.
I will. But I'm bringing you one that's grafted. So when I do bring you one,
you're gonna bring me one to plant?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant just bring me an avocado to eat, but I'll take a plant.
No, my goal is like when my friends have their home or whatever home they really want to stay in.
Put it
like, we put it in a big pot and you let it keep growing or whatever. And then
then I can bring it to my next house.
Then you can bring it to your next house because I feel like you're going to have a next house. You bring it to your next house, wherever you think you're, I'm probably going to stay here like for a great amount of time. Yeah. Then I will come plant it for you because avocado roots are like, they don't like a whole lot. They're like, do me gentle or I'm going to die on you.
I mean, that's basically how an avocado, the fruit, is because if you don't eat it on the exact hour of its ripeness, you fucked it up either direction. It's either too hard and it tastes funny, or
I'm done.
Way too smushy and brown. There is such a short window of opportunity for you to eat that. When I go to the store, I used to buy like the little bags of avocados. Yeah. And then I was like, this is stupid.
No, not unless you want to eat guacamole.
Yeah, now I buy like 2, maybe 3. And I buy the ones that are ripe so I can eat them. Like, I eat the one that day that I buy it. And I eat the next one the next day and the next one the next day. And that's, like, the only way I've been able to... Because if you buy it when it's slightly hard, I always miss the window. Yeah. Is it not like, maybe don't check it often enough? I don't know.
I do. I usually buy 2 at a time. I buy one that is ripe and one that is almost ripe. And that'll be ripe in 2 days. Okay. And that's my system. Because it takes me 2 days to eat one avocado. I usually eat half it in a day.
Takes me 1 day. Like I eat like half for lunch or breakfast and half for dinner or something.
Yeah. And then like by day 3, I'm like the second one's ready. That's where we're going.
Okay.
All right.
That's smart.
Tangent over.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you my second favorite line, which is when Kid is asking Hawkins about the feminine mystique and whether he should let Nikki explore his. Because he's like, I don't think I have any. And Hawkins is like, let her look. And he's like, let her. Kid studied Hawkins' face. It was, hold on. Let her. Kid studied Hawkins' face that was serious. Okay. He supposed there were worse ways to spend than posing naked for a beautiful woman who might possibly finger paint your body. And he was pretty sure that would be Nikki's way of helping. A grin split his face. Definitely top 10 material there. I just think it's so cute because I think she did such a good job of making him younger sounding in his thoughts and like so eager. Yeah. And I just thought the whole feminine mystique thing was so cute. And he's like, I don't know if I have any. He's all sad about it. She thinks that, she likes to explore it, but I don't think I have that. And Hawkins is like, just let her explore, bro. You're going to enjoy it. And then he thinks about it and he's like, oh, okay.
It's like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. No. She's gonna finger paint your naked body. That's not that bad. I just thought he was so cute.
I think as a rule of thumb in life, that gets you far. If you're like, this thing won't hurt me. Yeah. Let's explore it.
Totally. I agree. I feel like, that's why that one person wrote the book of yes or whatever, and has changed like all these people's lives because people I feel like naturally, instinctively say no. My child 1.5. Everything is a no to start with until she like hot thinks about it for a second and is like, popsicle? Wait, no, shit. Yes, I want a popsicle. I feel like my natural thing has always been people are like, let's go to this thing. I'm like, okay, let's go to this thing. Sure. Yeah. Like, let's do this. Okay. With the exception of like things that I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Someone's going to die. That sounds like a terrible idea. But for the most part, I always think it's better to say yes and explore different things and kind of open your mind to new opportunities.
I think like if you're like a middle child, I think that's why we have really great lives, because we never got the chance to say no. Like if my older sister was like, we're going to the park, I was going to the park. Sure. There was no like, oh, let's talk about this. Yeah. So in life, when people have great plans, I usually never have to make the great plans because somebody already makes the great plans, and then they're like, hey, you want to do this thing? And I'm like, yes. Now, have I gotten slightly more skeptical as the years have gone on? Yes, I have. I asked maybe 2 more questions. They're like, let's go do this great thing. How much planning have you put into that? And are there bathrooms?
How much money do I have to spend?
How much money am I going to spend? And are there bathrooms? Yeah. Okay, great. You know, so, but yeah, I thought that was I
mean, this podcast came about because you were like, I think after we discovered we were both romance novel addicts, you're like, I think we should do a podcast. And I was like, yes. I mean, I don't even need to think about that. That's obviously the next logical step. Do you
remember what I said after that? I was like, man, I prepared a whole argument.
I know. You were like kind of bummed that I answered so quickly. You're like, but I had a whole reasoning.
I had like nothing to do with my hands at that point. I was like, okay.
I think you called me after you left that day. And you're like, I had prepared an argument about why I was going to convince you that this was the right step. And I was like, I don't need to be convinced. Like, sounds like a great idea.
Do you know when you're also already on that train? Because I was like, do you want this podcast? You're like, yes. And I was like, because a podcast, okay, yeah, okay.
Okay. I mean, had you asked me to do some other stuff, I might have been like, I don't know. That seems like a lot more. Like, if you'd been like, let's start a YouTube channel about this where we're doing crazy high production value and all this editing, I would have been like, woof. But I'm like, a podcast, I could talk all day about.
You're such a good talker, Bridget.
Thank you. I've always been a good talker. A loud talker and a good talker. You're welcome for the limiters that are on my microphone, everyone. But yeah, I was very excited about this.
I think because we're both in production, we both had that idea of what can we do that has the least amount of bullshittery attached to it, right? And it's sustainable. That was my thought. Sure. I was like,
yeah, because like all we need is these 2 mics. Like we can do it anywhere. We can be in separate locations if we're doing different things.
All we need is 2 mics.
All we need is 2 mics. 2 mics.
It was right for it. I'm sorry.
No, I loved it. Yeah, because like if you're doing video, it's like that's so much more prep and costumes and makeup and hair and editing. I mean, it's just obviously a whole production. That's why they call it a production. Yeah. But yeah, this felt more like, even though I'm having a baby soon, it felt like, well, you can keep talking. I mean, a baby's not going to stop me from talking or reading.
Yeah, and nobody knows how dressed we are at this moment. Yeah, exactly. We're super dressed, by the way. We dressed up for this.
So good looking at the
moment. Great looking.
I'm not sweating.
I'm wearing dress pants, and my top lip is definitely not sweating.
Dress pants. I'm wearing dress pants. It's like the middle of summer in LA. I'm wearing dress pants.
I'm wearing dress pants and a blouse.
I'm wearing an Oscars-worthy dress.
You know what I'm saying? They are sequins. Yeah. You can't see it, but trust me.
Yes. Vera Wang stopped by earlier for our final fitting.
You know.
I wouldn't fit in any dresses that she makes because all the sample sizes are too small.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Okay, so let's, I think we should maybe kind of wrap it up with our favorite reviews.
All right. So, I picked a general review here. This is from Super Reader on Amazon. The guy in this is an ex-war hero and an excellent car thief, as well as being a crime-busting secret agent. A fair bit of the Gone in 60 Seconds thing going on here, except there is a lot of sex after the career of selling cars. Lots of okay done shagging here, and when that happens, like most of these sorts of books, the plot gets pretty light. Here there is one, though, with 2 women who get involved with the Steele Street crew and their grandfather, who is a paleontologist. Not many diamond smugglers would think of using a dig to smuggle stuff, but there you go.
So what a vague review.
Yeah, so I picked it because it was like the only one that was like real middle of the road, and so I was like, I feel like you either love this book or you hate it,
right?
And I was like, so
I did like that she put in Gone in 60 Seconds because have you ever seen that movie?
Yes, but a long time ago.
Because, like, the scene where him and Angelina Jolie are in the car and they're watching the other couple and waiting for them. They're, like, you know, going through, like, the dance of the, you know, undressing and all this other stuff and, like, taking their time. And both of them are like, get it on, let's go, because they want to steal the car.
Yeah.
And then they talk about having sex in cars, if they like boosting cars or having sex better. And then she says, what about having sex in cars? And he's like, ooh. And then she like puts her legs around so the shifter's in between her legs. She's like, but how would you get over the shifter? And then they start making out. And I was like, I'm so turned on right now.
I need to watch this movie again. I forgot this movie. I need to watch it again.
So you can borrow my copy because I have one. It's like such a sexy scene.
Yeah.
So I like that she used that, but the rest of the view I do not feel like gives me a good idea of whether it's a good book or a bad book or what happens really.
That's what I thought too. I kind of felt like this reader skimmed it.
Okay.
Or whatever. Because and that's kind of what you get when you skim it or you skip to the good parts or whatever. And like I don't ever want to complain about the sex in the book because at the end of the day, yes, I'm here for the romance, but really, what am I? I'm here for the sex.
I'm here for the romance. You're here for the sex.
I'm here for the sex.
I'm here for the, I'm here for the heart, my heart going, oh, that's what I'm here for.
And I'm here for the banging. The banging. Like, I like the romance because I like story with the sex. I don't like just, I don't want to read a book that's just the sex.
Right.
But I definitely am not going to complain if there's a bunch of sex in a book. I think maybe one time I was like, okay, all right, enough, get to the next point. But that was like maybe one book of all time. But I did feel that I thought the hiding the diamonds with dinosaur bones was a great idea.
Yeah, who would ever look there?
Like, yeah. People, especially if you are a customs agent and you open up a box full of dinosaur bones, you're not thinking someone's smuggling in diamonds with
plaster.
Yeah, and I don't want to touch old dinosaur bones.
Yeah.
I don't care how cool I think they are. So I would just be like, here, get it through, get it through, get it through. So I actually thought it was a great idea. I did not agree.
Well, this review I found from Jay gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, and she said, This is my kind of review. I just want you all to imagine that there's like a lot of capitalizations and punctuation. Holy moly. A story about a bunch of hot male car thieves turned secret agents with lots of big guns and monster muscle cars. They even name all their cars. Imagine that. A fast-paced story, always a plus. Hilarious dialogue, another plus. Hot love scenes, a must. Absolutely had a great time reading this. Miss Janzen even introduced us to characters for her future sequels. And I'm sure I'm going to enjoy reading all of the future Steele Street books. Looking forward to Hawkins' stories next. He's the badass one. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I agree.
I concur.
I concur wholeheartedly, Jay. Well played. Also, the comment on her review is, girl, you and your hotness, but hot with a H-A-W-T, hotness. Hot. Babe, you are one hot lady. And I'm like, I don't think I understand that comment, but I also appreciate the comment. She's hot. Hot.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of all we have for today, everyone. I want you to go and read this book. Hop over to the old website, and you can check out our links if you would like to read it on Kindle or get a physical book shipped to you. Or, as always, feel free to avail yourself of your public library system and see if they have the book there. Big fan of the public libraries. We also have some book recommendations if you liked this book or this author.
Go to the website to see. But Jane Ann Krenz recommended this book, and it's because she also writes books very similar. So if you want to read something similar, check out Jane Ann Krenz, who writes as Amanda Quick in the historical romance. I love her as Amanda Quick. I don't really enjoy Jane Ann Krenz as much, but I love Amanda Quick.
You also like historical romance. I feel like better than you like.
Yeah, it's purely a genre loving type thing. It's not because her books are poorly written.
Yeah.
So Bridget, what did you think about the cover art?
I actually liked it because it really got me in mind of like kind of like a James Bond espionage thriller situation. And so I was like on board with the messaging, and he's like in between her legs that are spread. And so I was like, okay, we got some action. We got a gun. We got some danger. We got some sexy time.
So I thought the cover art was appropriate. Like, it tells you what you're going to expect in the book. I, however, didn't know if it was on purpose or not that it would look so dated. Like to me, it looks like an 80s cover. Like it was done in the 80s, like with the heels.
Yeah, and his gun is even like a Magnum instead of being like a sniper rifle or
Yeah.
something.
So that was my only thing is like before I knew what year it was made in 2005. It was released.
Yeah.
Before that, I thought, oh, this is definitely made in the 80s. So that was my only thing with the cover art, but I did think it was spot on. Like I knew what I was getting into.
What about the hot pink lettering though? Because I feel like that's not very 80s. Or maybe it is.
I mean, in the 80s, I had this hot pink skirt thing. I really thought the font for me reminded me of like the 80s or whatever. But again, I don't think I have the best time references in my mind. I just thought, oh, this looks really dated. But I did think it was like appropriate. And like the length of the skirt, it reminded me.
But she's also like a buttoned-up lady.
She is. But when you think of this length of skirt, you think of like the 80s businesswoman.
Sure.
You know, like, I don't know, that's what it looks like, especially because like everybody now I know who goes to work doesn't really dress like this anymore.
And there's no color, so because it's like black and gray.
Yeah.
You don't get to see like what color she's wearing or what design. Maybe those high heels are a fun color, so they'd be more modern.
Maybe. But anyways, but I did think it was appropriate, and I kind of actually like the retro look of it, and I like it. It says the mission, crazy hot.
Yeah,
you know.
You're
so,
like, ooh,
this is.
And it was crazy hot.
It was crazy hot, and that's what I thought. I was like, if this book's not crazy hot, then I'm gonna feel really lied to, because that was the mission.
And they succeeded.
They did. They succeeded.
And that's all we have for you today, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope that you enjoyed a few of our tangents into the car, Martinelli's, and a few others. And as always,
until next time, may your books be your lover
and your hand your best friend.
Dear listeners, we love making this podcast for you. So please, if you enjoy it, do us a solid and leave us a comment or a review and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time at Romance at a Glance.